Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. Welcome. I'm glad everyone could be here. We're live on Ustream, also on Facebook, or maybe you're watching the recording of this on YouTube. If so, thanks for watching. Be sure and check out the description below the video because I will have a timeline there. So how is everyone doing? I'm doing pretty good. I actually have a pounding headache right now. And for some reason today I have felt very, I don't know, like maybe I didn't sleep very well last night because I felt very just physically exhausted. Not really just sleepy, but like I've been working out on the farm for a week. I don't know, which is funny because it's been really slow this week, so I haven't really been. Anyway, all of that, basically, I have a headache and I've been drinking like tons of water, so maybe that'll help. And of course, I've been eating. That always helps too. We do have a show. I'm going to talk about things other than my life. We're going to talk about iPhone, iPad, Amazon, smartphone, and a couple of other things. It's been a really slow week, and so there isn't really a whole lot to talk about. So if it feels like I'm stalling, is because I am, because there's not really a whole lot to talk about. But we are going to talk. We're going to have a great show, and it's going to be very interesting. And I'm going to start right now, just so you don't have to listen to me ramble. So, probably the big news this week, if it is still big news, is we got some more pictures of what could be the iPhone, the next iPhone, and I can show you guys, just in case you haven't seen the article. Of course, you can check out the article and see for yourself, but just in case. So these are from Gotta Be Mobile, as you can see, watermarked. And first of all, you can tell that it has that metal unibody, which we've seen from other leaks, and it lines up with what we've heard in the past that Apple wants to start doing this with the next iPhone. Here you can see the back of the iPhone, and I think what's interesting here is that the entire thing is metal, and so I'm not sure if this is maybe just a mold, like a reference mold, or if this is actually, part of the shell, because in other leaked pictures we'd seen, on the top and bottoms there, it was still glass like we have right now on the current iPhone. So I don't know if that's going to be, so where it's going to be like metal, the entire panel, and then it'll just have like glass overlaid it. I'm not really sure. But you can see here at the back, and then I believe there is one more picture. This is possibly the display. So nothing new, and really it lines up with, again, like I said, everything that we've seen before. I think the biggest thing that we're really expecting with the iPhone 5 or the iPhone 6 is just a larger display. I think, we've heard the metal back, which again, those pictures kind of show that, the metal back and the top and bottom still being glass like it is today, or it is right now, but really a larger display is what everyone is expecting. Gotta Be Mobile, actually, when they got these pictures, they measured them. One of them appears to be taller. However, one of the samples, and maybe I misunderstood, but one of the samples is actually shorter than the current iPhone 4S. So I'm not sure if they have like two samples, one is taller and one is shorter, or if maybe I just misunderstood and maybe it's like the middle section that's shorter. So I'm not really sure about that. But from the pictures, it does look taller. Because right now the iPhone, for one thing, it's very small, but it's kind of has squarish a little bit. We've seen other renders where it's really square, just kind of wider. But these, they look longer, they look taller. So, the more pictures we see, the more I think we can just accept or expect that the iPhone 5 is going to have a larger display. And I've talked about this in the past because it seems so obvious to have a larger display. I mean, like pretty much every single phone nowadays has a, at least 4-inch display. Now you get to some of the mid-range or more like low-end phones. Even most of the mid-range phones have a 4-inch display. But so you get kind of like to the low-end phones, they have like 3.7 inch generally. I mean, I've seen 3.5 inches within the past 6 months, but even the low-end phones, really, it's like 3.7 inches, and then once you get to the phones that everyone actually cares about, you're looking at least 4 inches, all the way up to, 4.5, 4.6 inches, and so it would stand to reason that people like large displays, and maybe they didn't in the past, maybe Apple, they thought they were too big, and maybe back then they were. I remember when the first phone came out that had a 4-inch display, it was like a monster, and then we had phones with 4.3-inch displays, and they were like freaking ginormous, but now it's perfectly normal, and anything smaller feels really uncomfortable. So maybe in the past it was a little bit too small, a little bit too big, but I think now it's established that people like large, just not even large. I mean, I would say 4 inches, 4.3 kind of feels like what it should be. Now, 3.5 inches seems just way too small. The text is tiny, and I know it's a Retina display, so you can read it even without zooming in, but that's not the point. The point is that it is a really small display, and so I think it's just proven. Yeah, people like larger displays. They like, at least a 4-inch screen. And so it would stand to reason that it's just logical to have a large display. That being said, that whole argument could have been used last year when the iPhone 4S was announced, and we all know what happened with that. It didn't have a large display. So, I'm kind of thinking, well, Apple kind of had this update procedure, update theory, where you had like the iPhone 3G, and then the iPhone 3GS wasn't like that big of a change. It was the same body, just like, kind of a minor upgrade. And then they went to the 4, which was the big upgrade. New hardware, new everything, pretty much everything about it was new and great. And then the iPhone 4S was kind of just a minor upgrade. They added a couple of features. So I'm thinking I think they're going to call it the iPhone 5, but there are people who disagree with me. But I'm thinking with the next phone, it kind of stands to reason that it will be the major upgrade. So maybe the iPhone 4S didn't have this larger display, however logical it may have sounded, but just going along with Apple's previous design scheme, maybe just didn't fit in with that schedule. But now with the iPhone 5, the iPhone 6, I think this is going to be the one where it's a huge upgrade. It has everything. If it is going to have any of this stuff, it will be this one. The larger display, LTE, quad-core processor, I don't know. I mean, you could reason that it's not really necessary. The iPhone performs very smoothly, even without a quad-core processor. Back when it had a single-core processor, I mean, it was smooth, but you're like, I mean, I can understand. Now it has a dual-core processor, and you can, notice a little bit how it's a little bit more fast, but, or a little bit faster, but, I don't know, quad-core processor, I'd be kind of surprised, but then again, this is the one where all of that would come in. It would have a larger display, it would have LTE, it would have a quad-core processor, it would have, I don't know what else they would add to it, but, so, I don't know, it stands to reason that they would add this larger screen, and as we see more pictures and more rumors and more leaks, it's kind of like, okay, we can just expect it will have, say, a 4-inch display, and that's what I'm expecting. However, at the same time, I would not be surprised if it didn't, just because Apple can be kind of stubborn about stuff like that. There's a lot of things. LTE, people have wanted that for a long time. Well, first it was, HSPA Plus or maybe WiMAX. People wanted that. No. And then LTE came along. People wanted that. Nope. People have wanted a physical keyboard for pretty much ever since it came out, and Apple has never budged on that. So, I don't know. Apple can be kind of stubborn about these things, so it's kind of hard to say if we'll actually see it, but, I don't know. I've said before, when you guys know, every time I predict something, it's always wrong. So, of course, I'm saying now, like, yeah, it totally makes sense to see a 4-inch display and LTE. Like, why would they not? But then it'll be announced, and it'll have, freaking like 3.7 inch. It's a little bit bigger, and whatever, HSPA plus. So, I don't know. We'll see. Also, we've heard about the iPad mini a lot, and again, I've shared my thoughts on this. I don't think this is going to happen, but here's another leak. Here's another picture. This is actually, let me show you the, this is actually, it's a mold. So this one is actually a reference mold. That's why I was thinking maybe that iPhone, the metal case, maybe that's actually just a reference mold. So I don't know. But this one, the orange part, obviously, this is a reference mold. And so it's given to manufacturers of accessories. That was my phone, I apologize. And, to help them decide how large they should make their accessories. But anyway, as you can see, it is clearly smaller. And so, let me see. Gotta Be Mobile, kudos to them for the work on this. They actually tried to figure out the exact size of this mold, but I guess they didn't have it. They just had the pictures. Like, someone just sent them the pictures. They didn't actually have the mold in hand. So what they did was they counted the photo's pixels in order to come up with the measurements, which is, again, kudos. They came up with the measurements of 213 millimeters tall and 143 millimeters wide. So that would make the device about 2/3 the size of the new iPad, which measures in at about 241 by 185. It's also said to be thinner than the new iPad, than the current iPad. So kind of wonder, like, that's interesting. Is it thinner because maybe it's a smaller battery since the device is smaller? Does that mean that the next iPad is also going to be even thinner? I don't know, but 2/3 the size. So we've heard before 7 to 8 inches, and I think that kind of fits in with that. Again, I don't really believe this one that much, but however, if we keep seeing leaks and rumors, then you kind of have to expect it. But I just don't believe this one, just because I just don't think that fits in with Apple's mentality. They always have they only have like a couple, like with the iPhone, there's not multiple sizes. I mean, and it may be with the iPhone 5, they will have multiple sizes, but for the time being, there's only one. You could think of the MacBook Pro. There's multiple sizes, 13, 15, and 17 inches, but those are their computers. With their mobile products, with the iPhone, with the iPod Touch, they've always just had set sizes. Now, I understand the iPod, there's different models, which are subsequently different sizes, but those are just different models. It's like they have an iPod Touch with a smaller screen. So, if you look at their mobile theory so far, it's always just been set sizes, and so this one I'm a little more skeptical of, also because, and I talked about this last week, so I won't spend too much time on it, also because I've heard other reports say that it would be a more cost-effective iPad. I've heard some people not even bring that up, so maybe that was just someone's idea. But I heard that it would be smaller, so that would also be cheaper. And again, that's just not the way Apple rolls. They don't even care about price, really. I mean, they talk like they do, but they don't. So anyway, we'll have to wait and see. I do expect an iPhone. Again, here's my prediction, which will ultimately be wrong. I do expect an iPhone with a larger display, with LTE. And we're seeing more and more of this new hardware design, which isn't extremely different, but it's a little different. And it's not like we've seen several different hardware designs. We're really only seeing one in just several different pictures from several different sources. So I think that can kind of let us know this is what it's going to look like. So again, we'll have to wait and see. Amazon is also apparently planning on making a smartphone. We heard this rumor actually maybe last week, and we didn't really talk about it because it was kind of just one of those like rumors that someone just tosses around and you're like, yeah, that's probably not true. But we heard it again, and so I thought, well, maybe this is worthy of talking. I don't know, this really loud noise out there. I was like, what the heck's going on? Anyway, so I thought, well, maybe this is actually going to happen. Maybe it's worthy of talking about. So Amazon, according to the Wall Street Journal, and I think the last time we heard this, it might have been the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg. I'm not really sure. But their sources say that Amazon is currently working on a smartphone, and they will begin production either in late 2012 or in early 2013. We don't really know any details about it, but this source says that the display will be about 4 to 5 inches in size, which isn't surprising because, like I talked about earlier, pretty much every phone nowadays is 4 to 5 inches. It's, 4 inches, 4.3, 4.5, 4.6, 4.8. It's every phone is like that. So that's not really like, oh, really? That's so weird. But we don't really know what to expect. However, Taylor actually wrote an article on this. Again, it was a couple of weeks ago when we heard the first rumor. But I want to bring it up again because he brought up a good point of probably what we can expect. And that is a Kindle Fire as a phone. You remember the Kindle Fire? It's an Android tablet. It ships with Android 2.3. But it's it has a very heavily customized skin. You guys know what it looks like. It's like, it does not look like Android really at all. It doesn't even use a Google Play Store. It uses Amazon's app market. So, if you weren't really like in the know with technology, you could be using this tablet and never ever know that it runs Android. Like, that's how heavy this custom skin is. It permeates anyway, you get the point. It's a very customized version. And on top of that, it pushes Amazon's services a lot. Let me get mine so that I get all these categories correct. So, first of all, whenever you get the tablet, it's linked to your Amazon account. So, it has the Amazon App Store, obviously. So it's, again, Amazon. You have newsstand, books, music, video, docs, apps, and then the web. Newsstand, obviously, you can buy that from Amazon. And I'm pretty sure that's the only place you can buy that within the Amazon store. Books, again, Amazon Kindle. It's a Kindle. Music, Amazon MP3. Now, of course, you can sideload stuff if you want to. So, like, I have music that was just on my computer, like on iTunes, and I just put it on here. Video, that's, again, it comes with a free trial of Amazon Prime, but you can, get another Prime account after the free trial is over, so you have your Prime account, or you can just buy movies, again, from Amazon Instant Video, even if you don't have a Prime account. Docs, now this is obviously just documents. Your documents can come from anywhere, but they're stored in the Amazon cloud. So you're going to see, like, everything is Amazon. And then apps, of course, the Amazon app market, and then the web is actually an Amazon web browser called the Silk browser. So it's very Amazon. Everything you do is through Amazon, and that's how they make the money, because the tablet is so cheap. It's only $200, but they're not making any money just by selling the tablets. They're making money off of you buying apps from them, you buying books from them, buying magazines from them. You do everything with Amazon services, and so you can probably expect that same thing with an Amazon smartphone. It will undoubtedly have the Amazon app market pre-installed. I doubt it will have any official access to the Google Play Store. Now, of course, you can root the Kindle Fire and you can do whatever you want to it, but for normal people, you can't just download the Google Play Store from anywhere. You would have to actually root it in order to do that. So you can expect Amazon App Store, Amazon or App Market, is it App Store? It is App Store. Amazon MP3. I would expect to see a very customized skin because, again, that's the theory they use with the Kindle Fire. This is an Amazon product. It has our skin. This is not Google. It's not Android. It's ours. So, that's not necessarily a bad thing because it's not like Amazon sucks. I mean, they have instant videos, which are awesome, and I use all the time, even if I didn't have the Kindle Fire. I mean, I use it all the time on my PlayStation whenever we watch videos. So they have great services. The App Store has some great apps. It's not as many, but they're great, and they're generally high quality. But it wouldn't be like for Android purists, and I think that's kind of the differentiation there that you would have to make. The Kindle Fire is not really for, us techies that want to get something and have like a quad-core processor to show off, or to have all, root it and do all this stuff to it. It's not really for that at all. And so the Amazon smartphone would not be that at all. It would probably be a decent smartphone, maybe with a dual-core processor. It would have a very heavy custom skin. Taylor touched on this, and I think I probably agree with him. It wouldn't be amazing hardware in terms of, first of all, the hardware itself, but also things like the camera. Again, going back to the processor, just because, Amazon with the Kindle Fire, they wanted to make the tablet as cheap as possible so they could sell it for as cheap as possible. So I would kind of expect them to do the same thing with the smartphone. So it wouldn't have like the best camera. It wouldn't be about anything other than Amazon. So it wouldn't be about the camera. It wouldn't be about, even video chatting. It's not like Amazon has a service for that, so they might not even want you to have a front-facing camera. It wouldn't be about that. It would be all about consumption, and then of course you would be able to make calls with it, which for some people is great. For some people, their phone is just an entertainment device, and they don't really use it for productivity, which is kind of makes sense. We've gotten away with that. BlackBerries, it was all about productivity, and then with the iPhone and with Android, it kind of got more to just an entertainment device. You have, watching videos, you've got YouTube, you have games, and so it would be more about that, just enjoying it for entertainment. And for the average consumer, I think that would be fine. You would have to sacrifice a little bit in terms of performance. At least, that's going off of the Kindle Fire. It's not the best performer. It lags on pretty much everything, but you kind of accept it because it's a cheap tablet. So it wouldn't be something you could brag about in terms of performance, but I think it might appeal to just the everyday average consumer who is like, hey, I use Amazon Instant Video, so yeah, I would love to be able to just easily do that on my phone, or, I use Kindle all the time for books, so I'd love to be able to do that on my phone. And of course, you can download Amazon Kindle from the Google Play Store. You can download the Amazon App Store from the Google Play, or, from the internet on any smartphone. But some people probably don't know that, and so they're like, oh wow, that's so cool, it's got Amazon services. So I think it actually could appeal to the average consumer. Funny, mentioning Taylor's article, and I used all of his points and I completely agree with him, but then the result is actually different. His final conclusion was that he does not want an Amazon Kindle smartphone, or I probably wouldn't be Kindle, but an Amazon smartphone. And I'm like, yeah, that could work. That could be kind of cool. But, I probably wouldn't want it, so I do agree with him on that, just because, I do want a phone that's going to have great performance. I want the Google Play Store if at all possible. I love, super LCD, super AMOLED Plus displays, and it probably won't have that. It'll probably have a nice display, but it won't be like top notch. So I probably wouldn't get it, but depending on how it turned out, I may, recommend it to other people, first-time smartphone buyers, that kind of thing. I talked for, 15 minutes about one little bitty paragraph. Man, I am so good. Okay, moving on now to Galaxy Tab. This is kind of funny, and then I want to talk about one more thing after this, so hopefully we'll be able to fit in these two topics. So the Galaxy Tab, you heard about the ban on the Galaxy Nexus, and it's over, so we're not gonna talk about that. But over in the UK, there's also lawsuits between Apple and Samsung, and Apple was suing Samsung, saying that the Galaxy Tabs infringed on the iPad design, and this was one of those more complicated lawsuits. With the Galaxy Nexus, it was like, okay, we have a patent on universal search, and your phone has universal search. So, and it was pretty simple and straightforward. You could kind of argue with it, but it was like, okay, well, they do have a point. This one, it's a lot more complicated, and this is the one that really gets people upset because, Apple is saying the Galaxy Tab looks exactly like the iPad. And, you could argue, well, how else are we supposed to make a tablet? And it may seem like, well, okay, you were the first ones to do it, so it seems like everyone is just stealing from you. But really, we're using the design you use because that's the design anybody would use. It's the only one that makes sense. Not only that, but you can go all the way back to the 90s, all the way back to, to videos, reference videos from, the 70s and the 80s of people talking about what tablets could be like. And they all looked the same. They were all rectangle with a bezel. Some of them were gray because for some reason, back in the early 90s, people were in love with gray plastic computers, but that was the thing. It was like, okay, Apple, you did not create this design. But anyway, it was this whole big thing. So the judge in the UK, he ruled that the Galaxy Tabs do not infringe on the iPad. And I've said before that you could kind of go either way, kind of depending on how you wanted to view it. But I still felt that in the end, yes, they do look alike. And so, yes, you could say they're very, very similar, and it's possible that Samsung did that on purpose. But the point is that the details are different. This is exactly what the judge brought out, that the details make them different. In fact, he said the unusual details on the backs of the devices, which is one thing that another judge brought out. They said, yeah, from the front or from a distance, they may look similar, but most people that buy a tablet, they don't just look at it for 5 seconds like, all right, let's buy it. I mean, they look at it, they turn it over, they turn it on, they actually use it if they can, they hold it. And if you do all of that, first of all, not only are you going to see the freaking Samsung logo, but you're also going to notice that it is not an iPad in any way, shape, or form. And so that's what this judge was bringing out, that it is obvious from the details that that they are different. But the funny thing is, he said that he added that Samsung's products do not have the same understated and extreme simplicity which is possessed by the Apple design, and he feels that they're not as cool, which is so funny because it's like, wow, what a cheap shot. But when you think about it, it's actually kind of genius, and a lot of people have been talking about this. I don't know if this was actually his thinking, but it's kind of like an easy way of telling both of them to shut up, to just shut it, because if Samsung won, they got their way, they got what they wanted, but they can't exactly celebrate it because once it gets out, everyone's going to see that the judge said that they're not as cool, so they're kind of like, yeah, okay, thanks, all right, we're going to leave now. So they can't really bring it up too much. Or if Apple appeals the ruling, are they saying that they disagree, that they think that the Galaxy Tabs are as cool as the iPad? So it was like, for both parties, it was just a really easy way to just tell them both to shut up. And so I wonder if that was actually his intentions, because now they kind of just, both of them just had to accept it and sort of move on. Samsung's kind of hiding from it, and Apple was like, well, okay, all right. So I think it was kind of genius. You gotta love those Brits. They got a great sense of humor. They just do. It's really dry, and I don't always get it, but it works. It just works. I do want to, we don't really talk about this very much, but I wanted to talk about it today, mostly because there's not really a whole lot to talk about. So, PhoneDog's official smartphone rankings. I don't know if you guys know about this. If you don't, that's why I'm talking about it, because it's actually really cool. And I want to just kind of give you guys an update on the rankings. So basically, here we go. I have to get it pulled up. Okay, so here we go. So we have our official smartphone rankings. We have two lists. We have the list where the people vote, and you can vote. You can go on PhoneDog.com right now and vote for your favorite phone. I think you get one vote per week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you get one vote per week. You have to be logged into your Facebook account, but you can vote on your favorite phone. You get one vote per week, and then every Monday, the computer puts all of the votes together and then creates the top 5 list. It actually goes all the way down to like 20, but really everyone only cares about the top 5. So we have the People's Choice rankings that you can see, but we also have the Experts' Choice rankings, which I want to talk about because there's kind of some confusion over how exactly this works, and I want to make sure that we're all clear on it, just so that we're all clear on it, basically. So we have, let me see how many experts we have, just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 14 experts. Some of us from PhoneDog, David from Timo News, Anthony from Into Mobile, Today's iPhone, Droid Dog, Laptop Memo, Mobile Burn, a couple of people from Best Buy Mobile, BW1.com, Warren, he was on the show a couple of weeks ago. So we have experts from all over, and every week we all create our individual top 5 list of our top 5 smartphones. And then the computer takes that list, puts them together, and then creates one uniform list based on a point system. So if someone votes a phone as their number 1 phone, that phone gets 5 points. Their number 2 phone, I believe it's just 4 points, and then number 3 gets 3 points, and then number 4 gets 2 points, and then number 5 gets 1 point. So each ranking, each phone is given a list, and then whichever phone gets the most points, whether it was 5 from one person and 3 from one person and 4 from another person, whatever, whichever phone gets the most points is then number 1 on that aggregated list, and then so on and so forth. So the reason I'm explaining that is because sometimes you guys see our expert list, the expert rankings of the top 5 phones, and you're like, I can't believe they would vote the iPhone number 1, or I can't believe they would vote this. Well, the thing is, not all of us do vote the iPhone as number 1, or not all of us vote the Galaxy S3 as number 1, or the HTC One X. It just so happens that a lot of people voted for those phones, and so they got enough points to be either number 1, 2, or 5, or whatever. But you can see our individual list. So, like, for example, right now the iPhone 4S is number 2 on the expert rankings. For me, last week it happens to not even be on my list, which I will explain. But you can, so it's also, along with the expert rankings, you can also look at our individual rankings, because there'll be some differentiation there, and we also explain why we did that. So I think it'll help a lot. It's just I wanted to explain that because there's some confusion, and people get really upset about it. So I just wanted to let you know how it goes. This week, my top 5 my top 5 phones are the number 1, Galaxy S3 global version, number 2, HTC One X global version, number 3 is the US Galaxy S3, number 4 is the HTC Evo 4G LTE, and number 5 is the US version of the HTC One X. So there's a lot of repetition there. I've got like the Galaxy S3 on there twice, the HTC One X on there twice, and it may seem like, what the heck, why would you do that? The reason why I did that is because the international versions of the One X and the Galaxy S3 have a quad-core processor, whereas the US versions have a dual-core processor. So obviously I want to have the international versions higher because, well, they're better. I mean, the Galaxy S3 and the One X, quad-core processor, Super LCD 2 or Super AMOLED Plus HD display. I mean, you look through every single detail of these two phones, they are hands down the best phones on the market. So those are number 2. However, even though the One X and the Galaxy S3, the US versions, only have a dual-core processor, I still think they're, top, 2 of the top 5 phones. I mean, that S4 processor is blazing fast, and then everything else is the same as the international version. So it's really only like one minor downgrade, and even then it's not that big. So I still wanted to have the US versions of those 2 phones on my list. Because of that, those 2 phones actually take up 4 spots, and then I have the Evo 4G LTE in there. That's 5. So there's not a lot of variety, but then I was like, well, I have to have them on there. They're the best phones, and if you have the option to get the international version of the Galaxy S3, do that over the US version if you can, and if you have the money, because it is the best phone out right now in my opinion. But I gave honorable mention to a couple of other phones that I want to have on this list, and if it weren't for the duplicates, they would be on this list. So first of all, the iPhone 4S. It would be on there if these double phones weren't on there. It would be on there. It'd probably be, I'd say maybe like number 4 or 5. It's getting long in the tooth. iOS, the phone itself, it's got still a great phone, dual core processor, Retina display. I still say the iPhone 4S camera is the best smartphone camera on the market. I've seen Galaxy S3, One X, I've seen all these phones, I've seen samples from all of them. They look great. They sound great. But you compare it to the iPhone 4S, it's still better. The audio quality is just perfect, and the video, it's very natural. With other ones, you get kind of variation between saturation or the details or just kind of little things. They add their own little tweaks to make them look better or different. The iPhone 4S, it's just natural. It looks the way that it would look in real life. There's no oversaturation just to make it look better. It looks very, very real. So I still think it has the best cell phone camera on the market. iOS is still a great operating system. Doesn't personally suit me at the moment, but still a great operating system. So I would like to have the iPhone 4S on here, and it would be on here if it weren't for these duplicates. Also, the Nokia Lumia 900. I would love to have that phone on there. But I don't know if it would be on this top 5 list. I think probably the HTC One S would be maybe number 5. If I had 2 extra spots, it would probably be the iPhone 4S and then the HTC One S. But I do kind of hold an honorable mention spot for the Nokia Lumia 900 because it is a great phone. It's not the best of the best. The Super AMOLED display is great. Clear black technology is great, but we have better in terms of technology and resolution, so it's great, but it's not the best. The single core processor does a great job. I really have no qualms with that, and I would be okay with having it on my top 5 list, if everything else fits. The fact that it doesn't have a multi-core processor doesn't bother me at all because it's still very smooth. But, it's that on top of the display, which isn't the best, the camera, which is, kind of mediocre. So, the Lumia 900 is the best Windows phone on the market right now. And if you don't like Android and iOS, it's the best phone that you can get. But, anyway, that's my ranking. I wanted to share that with you. And I don't know, I might have a different list next week. We submit them, I do mine every weekend. I don't know when everyone else does theirs, but we're supposed to have them done by Saturday at midnight. So I usually have mine done by Sunday at midnight. So I usually try to do mine on Saturday. So I don't know, maybe I'll have a different list. I might concede and take off these double versions, maybe take off the global version or maybe take off the US version. I don't know. There's actually a lot of our experts, and hopefully this doesn't sound like I'm trash talking them, but I don't mean it that way at all, but there's a lot of our experts that have the US version of the Galaxy S3 as number 1, and the international version isn't on there. And I kind of want to ask, is it because they don't want to have a double posting kind of, or, double on their list? Is that why? Because I'm clearly the international version is better. I mean, quad-core processor compared to dual-core processor, but... So, I don't know, maybe that's what the other experts are doing, and they don't want to have the double listing, so they just have one or the other. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Motorola Atrix HD is in the house. It's in his house. Aaron has it, and you can watch his unboxing video. It's a pretty cool phone, 4.5-inch 1280 by 720 display with color boost technology. An 8-megapixel camera with 0 shutter lag. Dual-core processor, 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor, which is sad that I'm totally not impressed by that. But, there's phones with quad-core processors, so... And, that, and I'm not really a Motorola fan, so that kind of already ruins it for me. But, still a great phone. I mean, there are some phones with quad-core processors, but not in the US, and even then, there's not that many. It was the One X... the Galaxy S3, and I think that might actually be it. There's another one. Tell me if there's another one that I'm just completely forgetting about. So, dual-core processor, we should be impressed by that. And it's on AT&T. You do get LTE. And I think it has, sort of a different version of Motorola's skin. I know it has a new widget. It's a circle clock widget where you have one big circle for the clock, and then one circle for the weather, and then one circle for calendar events or something. So the Optimus 4X HD, that is a quad-core processor. So I don't know if it's just the new widget or if the entire UI is different. I'd look, because I've never liked Motorola's UI. I didn't like Moto Blur, and I didn't like it when they completely did an overhaul on it. I think both of them looked horrible. But that's just me. I mean, I know a lot of people that loved it. Aaron, in fact, loved Motorola's UI, the one after Moto Blur. It was like one of his favorite UIs. And I was just like, what the heck? It's ugly. I mean, but I mean, I'm not gonna argue. The Droid Razor. I'm not sure what you have a Droid Razor. Congratulations. That's awesome. But anyway, so you can see the unboxing, and I'm sure he will have a review soon. And probably, maybe like Monday or Tuesday, he'll probably have a review. But that is pretty much all I wanted to talk about. We have 5 extra minutes, so I could either ramble on about something, or we could just get on to the open Q&A. So let's do that. Open Q&A. And feel free to ask me anything, and I will try to remember to check Facebook, although I'm really not promising anything, so we'll see how that goes. Let me make sure I actually have Facebook up. Oh, you know what? I have a picture of the Motorola Atrix HD. Not that, you really need to see it, but here it is. So that's the widget I was talking about. Yeah, see, now you know what I mean. There's the widget. And you can kind of see it looks a little different. Like the custom skin is a little bit different. So I don't know, maybe Motorola's UI has changed. Okay, so that's all. Okay, open Q&A. Sydney, why is it that my Sony Xperia Ion has gingerbread, but the international version launched with ice cream sandwich? Blame the carriers. They, for some reason, didn't want you to have ice cream sandwich yet. What else is coming to Windows Phone 7.8? We don't know yet. All we know about is the new start screen. Sydney, what's your favorite color shirt to wear? I like purple. Yeah, purple seems to look good on me. I have brown hair, and for people with brown hair and brown eyes, purple is a good color. I wear purple eyeshadow a lot. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I'm not right now, but purple. Also because whenever I do videos, my camera handles the white balance a lot better whenever I wear a purple shirt. I don't know why, but it does. So, Sydney, what are your expectations of the Galaxy Note 2? It's going to be a great phone. Yeah, it's from what we've heard so far. It's going to be awesome. I'm still not really that hot on a giant display, but, for some people it'd be great. Was working at PhoneDog your first job? No, my first job was as a graphics designer. I was 15 or... No, not 15. I was probably 16. It was a summer job, and then it turned into like a full-time job. I did that for... I don't know, I guess a year and a half. Do you have a Starbucks mug? I don't. I just, when I make coffee at home, when I make lattes at home, I just use a regular coffee mug. Sydney, I'm thinking about getting a Nexus 7 or a Galaxy Tab 7.0. Which do you recommend? The advantage of the Nexus 7, for one, I'm not sure the price. I'd have to refresh my memory on what the price for the Tab 7.0 is, but I think the Nexus 7 is cheaper, if I'm not mistaken, but also, it's a Nexus device, so you're going to get updates. You're going to be one of the first to get an update, and I think in pretty much every other way, they're basically even, so if you have that advantage, then, why not go for that? What food do you order when you go to a restaurant? It depends. It just depends on what kind of restaurant it is. Graphic designer. My college advisor is urging me to study in that field. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, if I could, I would be doing that right now. I love, just designing websites, business cards, posters, postcards, just any advertisement. I loved starting with just a white blank page, and then at the end have this, like, if I do say so myself, amazing design. It was just pretty cool. I really liked that. When do you think the next Nexus phone will come out? They usually come out in the sometime in like fall, winter. I think the Nexus 1 came out in like January or something, but they usually come out like end of the year. Where would you recommend someone completely new should start when it comes to rooting a Samsung Galaxy S2? Well, first of all, I have to say, PhoneDog does not endorse rooting, hacking, or otherwise modding your device. And if you do and it gets broken, then we're not responsible. That being said, where should you go? XDA, the forums, the developers forums, they have a ton. That's probably where you should go. And you can do a search for your device and it'll bring up posts, on that device, or they have sections for like rooting and modding, and so you should probably go there. Sydney, does it make sense that the iPhone 5 will have a Snapdragon processor or the A5X? Probably the A5X, I'd say. I would be surprised if Apple used another processor, besides that. I just watched your take on the Apple tablet. You hated the name iPad. I know. I talk a lot all the time about how my predictions are always wrong. This goes all the way back to that. With the very first iPad, which was 3 years ago now? We were hearing rumors about it, and I made a video for PhoneDog on my expectations, like what it would do, what it would be like, what it would look like, and what it would be called. At the time, we'd heard several names, and there was Tab. We'd heard all these names, and iPad was one of them. And of all the names, there was 6 or 7. And of all the names, I thought that is definitely not the one, because it's such a horrible name. iPad. I mean, come on. But that's the one. I said that in the video. I was like, it could be called iPad. God, I hope not. But that's what it ended up being called. So yeah, my failed predictions, they go all the way back 3 years to the original iPad. Sydney, do you hope the phones will turn into fully fledged computers? No, I think there's a place for computers. Computers are not, we don't have computers just for the sake of having something that does all of that stuff. It's the form factor. I mean, it's easier to do work on a computer, on a, 13 to 25 inch screen. Yeah, you can have Microsoft Word or, whatever pages on your phone, but it's just very difficult to do that. So, we could have all of this functionality on a phone and it would be like, okay, that's cool, but I don't want just that. I need it on something that's actually useful. I need to get work done. And so I think computers are computers, and then phones are phones, tablets are tablets. At least that's what I think. Are you all about phones? Do you have a gaming system? I have a PlayStation 3. Sydney, do you know a good place to sell old tablets besides Craigslist? eBay? Yeah. Yeah, I would do eBay. Sydney, any Virgin Mobile news? No. The iPhone just became available on Virgin Mobile. Sydney, if Migo comes back and is a hit, would you try? Have you ever used Migo? If it came back, if there was a US phone, because right now there's not a US phone that runs there, hasn't been one. So if it was in the US, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pay $600-700 to try a phone that I potentially might not like. But if it came to the US, yeah, I would give it a shot. I'd see what I thought of it. I liked the way that, in fact, back when I did this Android experiment, whatever, and I was customizing my Android or a Android phone that I had, I used an icon pack that was the Migo icons because I loved that design, and I love a lot of the design schemes they use and a lot of the little features, the way that you navigate through the UI, through the OS. Yeah, I liked it, so yeah, I'd like to give it a shot. Sydney, would you ever want to become a crossing guard? No, I don't think so. Go Migo, yes. Sydney, when's the PhoneDog movie coming out? There's not actually a PhoneDog movie. That was just a Yeah. Sydney, do you feel sad that you only have 45 viewers? Not really. It's a lot less pressure on me, I guess, but also whenever I upload it to YouTube, there's generally like, I don't know, 5 to 10,000 views or more. So, I mean, views don't really matter to me because, for one thing, it's my job and I'm getting paid to do it, but also I enjoy it anyway. If I wasn't talking to you guys for an hour, I'd be talking to somebody else for an hour, so I don't mind. Sydney, do you think Apple could buy, what? Do you think Apple could be buy in a future with Google? I have no idea what that question was. Um, we are the best viewers. You are. You're very interactive. And I love the fact that you have your own conversation while I'm talking. It's like, it's awesome. I don't even have to worry about, did I say something wrong, because they're not listening to me anyways, so it works. Sydney, all of today I was watching all of your old reviews of low-end phones. Awesome. Yeah, I watch some of my old reviews just from time to time. And every time I do, I always wonder, like, God, how did I not get fired? I mean, it's a good review, it's a decent review, but just, it's like, and not that I'm wrong or that I'm, a bad reviewer or that I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's just the presentation of it is just not very good. And I'm like, why, first of all, why did they ever hire me? I mean, what were they thinking? Second of all, how did I not get fired? I mean, come on. I mean, now I think I do pretty good. But I do this, like, every 6 months or so, I watch a review from, like, 6 months ago, and every time I think it's horrible, and I'm like, I am so much better. And it goes all the way back to my first ones. I would watch one 6 months later, and I'd be like, wow, I'm so much better. And then 6 months later, I'd watch them. And so, like, every 6 months, I see my ones from 6 months ago, and I'm like, God, that's terrible. But I always think that, so I guess it's a good thing because it means I'm always getting better. But it's also like, man, I wish I were like just good and I wouldn't have to keep getting better. But anyway, what camera do you use for PhoneDog Live? It's a webcam. Yeah, if I were to use like an HD camcorder, I'd have to buy software for it, and it would cost like $1,000. And so, yeah. I love your tweets. Thank you. What's your next review? I currently do not have one lined up. Oh, actually, I have a dogfight planned for next Tuesday, I think. It's a dogfight with the LG Lucid and the LG Viper, I think. I'd have to check the schedule. Sydney, wasn't your first review on the LG Chocolate Touch? Yes, it was. I was actually my unboxing. I did the unboxing of that and the review. Sydney, don't you wish sometimes you were in an office where you can see your coworkers in person? Not really. I don't really like working with people. I mean, I don't mind. I like being around people, but I'm kind of a loner. I like being alone. I like silence a lot. It helps me think. And every time I've worked in an office, there's always somebody. There's always the person that hates you and you can never figure out why, and you're afraid of them. And then there's always a person that everyone hates that just annoys you to death. And and then there's always a person that you just don't like at all, just for whatever reason. And you can never get away from that. There's always the person that hates you for no reason, the annoying person, and it's like everywhere you go. And I'm not like, if I had to get an office job, I would do it and I would deal with it. But, I work at home and now there's no one here that hates me for no reason. And I just do my job and I just work. It's so much better. Sydney, do you wear heels? I do wear heels when I go out, when I get dressed up. I guess you guys have never seen me dressed up. I look different because I actually wear makeup and lipstick and I get all done up and everything. But Sydney, how's your twin sister? She's good. She's off doing her thing. Yeah. How do you stay concentrated when working from home? I end up eating and watching TV. Well, I've been doing this for like 2.5 years, and so I've learned. Like the first year, yeah, it was really hard to concentrate and stay focused. But I realized if I don't get my work done, I'll be working till like midnight. And so now I've learned, and I'm on a more strict schedule, and I stick to it. So, you just learn, basically. Sydney, would you ever go back to feature phones? Why or why not? I'm thinking of going back to the flipper. I don't think so. I mean, smartphones are really useful, and yeah. Sydney, how tall are you? I am about 5'3", I believe. I'm about 5'3". Sydney lives on a farm. I don't. I don't know where that came from. Why is Dog Pound not funny? Because it is really difficult to come up with jokes every Monday, and I just ran out. I just can't. I talked about this a long time ago. I could tell you, like, all right, I'm going to really try this. I know you guys enjoy it. I am going to do this. And then Monday would get here, and I wouldn't be able to do it. So, like, I can't. I really want to, but it's impossible. I can't come up with those jokes every day. Okay, Facebook. Facebook. Your presentations are wonderful. Don't worry. Oh, thanks. If you get paid for the videos, how do you get money when you don't do vids? Well, for one thing, I do other things besides videos, like the Dog Pound and this show. That's every week, so I get that every week. I do articles from time to time, so I do that. So yeah, if I want to do like anything written, I can do that whenever I want to. So, but it's not usually a problem. I mean, usually every month I make plenty of money. It beat Ray William Johnson. Okay. You said at the beginning you were at the farm and working hard. Oh, no, I said I'm exhausted, like I've been somewhere, working hard. But that was why it was so weird, because I haven't been. I have basically an office job, which is physically not very taxing, so yeah. Do you like your Motorola Triumph review sucked? You saying the review sucked, the phone sucked? Yeah, a lot of people got really, really mad about my Motorola Triumph review, saying that I was biased, that I was an idiot, that I didn't know what I was talking about, that I was trashing the phone for no reason, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, yeah, how many of you have actually used the phone? At the time, it hadn't come out yet, so yeah, a lot of people got upset about that, but I didn't really care because I was right, so. And then it came out, and everyone bought it, and then a month later, they're like, man, this phone is crap, the screen messes up. And I'm like, yeah, you think? I'm trying to tell you that. Okay. Vlogs are a great idea. Have you ever met Aaron in person? No, I haven't. Where do you go on holiday? When we go on vacation, actually this October, I think, we're planning a family vacation to Florida. It's actually with my husband's family. We're going there to, his mom is renting a beach house, and so we're going to go there. Last October, whatever, we went to California. When my husband and I go, it's usually spontaneous. We'll go and we'll just like drive down to Austin for the weekend, or we'll just stay around here and just like go get a hotel or something. I mean, it's just spontaneous. I would love to go to New York. When I was single, obviously I traveled a lot because everyone travels a lot more when they're single, but I'd love to go to New York again. I'd love to go to Europe. My husband has never been to Paris, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's the most beautiful. I'm not going to talk about that for 5 minutes because I know you guys hate that. Never walk in downtown Dallas at night. Well, it depends on where you're at. I mean, obviously there's really bad parts, but if you're in like the city, like the tourist areas with all the buildings and stuff, then I'm sure it's not a big deal. HTC 1V, you should do the review. Yeah, Aaron handles the scheduling, so. Do you have a husband? You have a husband, you look 22. I'm 24, which isn't much older, but yeah, we've been married for 2 years. It was 2 years in March. So I got married when I was 22, but I'm 24 now. Please help. Virgin Mobile, iPhone 4, or Galaxy Nexus? Um, oof. That's a tough one. I would say, honestly, it really just depends on if you prefer Android or iOS. I think iPhone 4 has a better camera. I like the hardware better, but that's, a personal thing. The Galaxy Nexus has a great display, and it's larger than the iPhone 4, so, there's that. But overall, I mean, I think it just depends on if you prefer Android or iOS. She's not answering my question. Yeah, the 7-inch iPad thing. I talked about that earlier in the show, and so I didn't want to take up time that I could be answering other people's questions. So I'll post the recording of it, and then you can check that out then. Sydney, make vlogs. Yeah, the vlog thing, I've talked about this before. Vlogs, I hate because they're so pointless. And, I think I'm that special or that, that I deserve to have a blog. People really want to see what I do all day, every day. I just think it's kind of presumptuous for somebody to have a vlog. So, yeah, I mean, I have a YouTube channel and I occasionally post a video, but, I don't know. I don't like the whole vlog thing. Maybe I'm just too cynical. I am extremely cynical. But, hey, it's gotten me this far. So, Okay, it's 5:01, so I'm gonna go. But I hope everyone enjoyed the show. And I will, again, be posting it on YouTube. So if you missed anything, you can check that out. But otherwise, I will see you guys next week, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Ustream. And that's all. I'll see you guys later. Bye.